Alright, welcome to this month's edition of the Apalachee Inshore Fishing Report. This is the November edition. I'm Captain Jay Carson, this is Captain Evan Snow, and today we've got a special guest on, Captain Dave Lear, who has a long list of accomplishments. David is a retired light tackle and fishing guide. He's a contributing writer for several magazines like Saltwater Sportsman, ESPN Outdoors, Guy Harvey Magazine, Florida Sportsman. And we're just happy to have you on today.
Thanks. Nice to be here.
Yep. Also does a lot of great photography as well. So if you get a chance, we'll talk more about how you can check in on Dave's stuff at the end of the show.
And those of y'all that don't know, Dave is Silver King on the bigbendfishing.net. So I know a lot of you guys look at that message board, try to squeak out the tidbits, the information you get there.
Dave is a valuable resource for information. So you guys want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the fishing report wise right now?
Yeah. You know, right now the fish are mostly still on the flats and everything, and we're finding a lot of redfish and trout right there mixed in together, which is how I like it. You know, you can target both in one swoop. You know, they've been pushed out, you know, a little further, not really compressed up on the, you know, the grass line and stuff right now, which, you know, I look for that. We got a cold front going on right now, so by the time you watch this, it'll probably be, you know, 3 or 4 days from now.
It's November 1st. We're recording this on November 1st. Yesterday we had like a 40-degree temperature change.
Yeah,
big time.
So I look for that to drive them on some structure and push them in. You know, whereas I've been targeting them, you know, kind of past oyster bars, still on the flats. I look forward to that to probably push them up on the oyster bars more, and going on throughout the month, really push them tighter on the structure. Oyster bars, rocks, creek mouths, different depth changes in the creek.
There are fish up there because I fished the grass line a few days ago and caught a bunch of fish just working grass line and oyster bars, throwing a, you know, one of the lures we'll talk about a little bit, a spoon. So yeah, I would say, you know, you can catch fish in a variety of ways right now. Pretty much, I think we've talked about this before. You know, pretty much any way you want to target fish, you can catch them right now. Yeah,
and you know, right now is a great time to throw any lure you want, top water to, you know, spoons to, you know, jigging, whatever, popping corks. And you know, you look toward the end of the month, the fish are going to start compressing and schooling up and getting a little thicker in there around the
yeah, they'll definitely get more concentrated as we get, you know, closer to colder weather.
It's all weather dependent right now, and this transition that may shut them down when we get this cold front blow through for a day or so when you get that high pressure. And then it'll warm back up and they'll scatter out a little bit more.
Well, Dave, you fish mostly out of where now?
I fish everywhere from St. Mark's over to Carabel, Apalachicola area.
How's it been over towards in those more western or eastern region of our area?
It's been good. Western,
sorry.
There's been a lot of floating grass, unfortunately, which kind of hampers one of my favorite lures. But I've had some good days with sight fishing redfish. The trout have been a little bit off. I think trout are a little bit off all over the place in this region, but there's been some quality fish.
Well, good. That's good to know. Are you finding most of those fish out on the flats or up around structure?
Mostly, most of my fishing is like 3 foot of water or less. So I'm in pretty skinny.
Yeah. So as you guys know, one of the things that we have to contend with starting about now through, you know, early spring is the front patterns. As those fronts come through and how we have to deal with those high and low pressure systems as they come through. So what are some of the ways that you guys like to still be productive as you're fishing in and around these fronts?
Well, you know, the day the cold front blows in and the morning after is best, you know, not to fish it. But I mean,
maybe stay at the house.
Yeah, I mean, you go when you can, and that's not saying to stay at home if that's the only day you can go. But you know, if you've got a choice of 2 days, I would lean towards, you know, not the day after a cold front. But you know, if you're doing that, if you are fishing those days, you know, you want to slow your baits down. You know, just target maybe some areas where the water may be a little warmer, you know, than some other areas and stuff like that.
I think like we talked about, just like we said, that the day after a front can be a struggle. But usually those couple days after following that, those fish start to warm back up and they start to feel good again, and they start to want to feed.
It's great. It's that pattern of the lockdown right after a front and gradually just going into a frenzy until the next front comes
and
through.
A lot of times, if you can get out right before that front comes through, those fish will feed actively before that pressure changes.
Yeah, the pressure is a real big factor. And if you look at that and you use your temperature gauge on your bottom machine, 1 or 2 degrees difference sometimes can make or break a day.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people when you're fishing in less than ideal conditions, if you add noise, you add scent and commotion, the fish have to find your bait or lure.
They have a better chance to find that. Sure, that makes perfect sense.
And also one other thing when you're fishing cold water, if you got a good low tide in the morning, maybe wait till the afternoon till the water's warming up, and when you have like rocks and oyster bars exposed in the morning, the sun's going to heat those up, so it's going to make it locally warmer around that structure. So maybe target areas like that in the afternoon once the water comes up.
Absolutely.
And fish will cling to that a lot of times.
That's a great thing to do. All right, so Dave, one of the things you said you wanted to talk about coming on today was some of your preferential lures. And you've brought 3 today that are very much lures that I use on a fairly regular basis. You brought the Rapala Skitter Walk, the ADL spoon, which we'll talk more about that, and then everybody knows about a DOA shrimp, I think.
Deadly on anything.
Yes, that's exactly right. So let's start with the Skitter Walk. You want to walk us through maybe how it is that you like to present, size, maybe some color selections and things like that?
Well, I know I love throwing a topwater lure. I mentioned earlier the floating grass kind of makes it difficult with treble hooks. A lot of manufacturers, including Rapala and Mirror now, are offering replacement single line hooks.
Yes, yeah.
I know Evan's thrown some, I've thrown some. They're good, they're better for the fish as far as doing less damage. The hookup ratio is you still got to work
a little bit.
You got to work and play with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love these. This is the SW8 Skitter Walk. This is the smaller version, the saltwater version, and I like this size. I throw a real light medium action rod, and it works well for me. I tie a loop knot on all these lures with this one exception because I want to impart the most action I can.
So let me ask you this question real quick. Is there a reason you like the SW8 as opposed to the little bit larger SW11?
Just again, it just feels better on the rod I like to use.
Okay.
It's not as heavy. I can cast it a long ways, but this has a single big stainless steel bearing in it, and it really makes a good thump in the water. There's a lot of great topwater lures, the Mirror Top Dog, Head and Super Spook. The old adage, the bigger baits for bigger fish.
Right.
But elephants eat peanuts too.
Yeah,
this is the other adage. So, I've caught trout on this size up to 8.5 pounds.
Yeah.
So
we caught a 30-inch redfish on top water this week on that same size lure right there at the same exact lure.
Yeah, they love them. The reds, the reds will hump up on top of it. Trout will come up and pop it out of the water and come back and hit it repeatedly. So,
will you throw that in all conditions, or does it? Do you have a preferential?
I'll throw topwater all day sometimes.
Okay.
But ideally you want just a little bit of a chop, or just a little bit of ripple. I like to throw it around like submerged rock grass, or around over the top of oyster bars, in creek mouths, and just work it with the tide and come through. But this is a you want to start in the top of the water column, especially when it's warmer. Now that it's getting cooler, don't forget you can still use this. As Evan was saying, during the day when those heat sinks like oyster bars or mud flats start warming up after they're flooded, after the sun's warmed them up, those fish will get up on top and they'll eat a topwater in a heartbeat.
All right, so Skitter Walk, you want to move down in the water column a little bit?
I actually brought two of these. This is the DOA standard shrimp. It's a 1/4 ounce. It's got a belly weight. And then this is the new 2.75. It's got a little anvil weight, so it kind of settles down evenly. It casts a little bit easier, I think, than this one, but both are very effective.
I really like the looks of that one. That's the first time I've seen one up close. Just when you brought that in, I really like that. It's just more compact, like you said, for casting, getting a little more distance. And I love the anvil weights. That's something I break out in the wintertime sometimes and use a little bit anyway, just rigging other stuff, you know.
Yeah, it does cast pretty well, and I've had good luck with this sight fishing where I can actually see the fish in shallow water and throw it up to it and just kind of hop it along. It doesn't make a real big splash, so you don't spook them, but they hone right in on it. But this guy right here is, like I said, deadly on anything. This is the near clear, which is about as close to a real shrimp as you can get. Color-wise, but I've caught them on the gold glow, gold glitter, pearl.
And this thing looks, you know, exactly, this near clear looks exactly like a shrimp, and anything out on our flats will eat a shrimp.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you put that in front of anything that's looking to eat, he's going to eat it.
So this is obviously a very versatile bait too. Do you want to talk a little bit about some different ways that you can fish this particular bait?
Yes, I use a loop knot on this to give the most action. I normally just fish this plain.
Okay.
But it's very effective if you rig it under a popping cork or a clacker cork, kind of on the wire like a Cajun Thunder. And I like to throw it across current, especially like in a creek mouth when you have either incoming or outgoing water, and just let it sweep along naturally.
Okay.
And you'll feel that trout or red come up and just thump it and just rear back. It will slowly sink through the water column. It's not going to, this one's not going to fall very far, but it will get down. So this kind of is a slow, natural presentation like a shrimp. And that's why I like it. It works real well. This one, a little faster drop. So you might want to, if you're thinking about deeper water, this might be a little bit more effective.
That'd be good to blind cast on the flats and just jig with a trout or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. If you are blind casting, that would be perfect. Now in the wintertime, if you're fishing those deeper holes like some of the coastal rivers, you might want to go down to the 1/2 ounce. It's a little bit bigger. It'll sink a little bit faster, and you can get down in some of those deeper holes.
And go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
And just crawl it along.
Yeah. And then maybe just add a little scent to it too. You can some of those deeper holes and let that sit down there in the bottom.
Now the DOA has shrimp scent impregnated in the plastic, but you can add a little bit of the Procure
or something like that.
So you've got the best of both worlds. You've got an artificial lure that'll last all day, but you don't have to worry about keeping it on ice or keeping it in a live well. So.
Exactly. And then let's talk. We say the best for last, in my opinion. One of my all-time favorite baits that I use just about every time I go out, and that's the ADL spoon or Aqua Dream Living spoon. And you brought the gold one in, but they make some other ones. But let's talk about this thing right here.
Well, this is a outcome of the original. Mike Hackla is the owner of Aqua Dream. He's a longtime guide in New Smyrna, Florida, and the Captain Mike's is just a willow blade with a foil decal and eyes. The Aqua Dream is a hammered willow blade finish. I like the gold for a variety of waters. It gives a lot of good flash and sparkle, a lot of good vibration through the water. But as you were saying, the pink is really a good one for, especially like from St. Mark's East, and you get that little bit of tannic water. If you go west, you're sight fishing like Lanark area, Dog Island, St. George, the chartreuse is really good, and the silver is really good as well. So, and I've just started using the watermelon version. It's a kind of a avocado green with red specks, and I caught 13 reds on it one day, and the first time I used it. So
is that clear water? You use them on clear water.
Yeah, it's a good. I guess it's a little green crab, but with this one, actually, I take the original split ring on the lure, and I add a ball bearing swivel to it. This is a 35-pound test. Bass Pro sells them, or you can get them online.
Captain Mike has them on his website. That's
does he? Okay, all right. but I removed the back little factory ring, split ring on the ball bearing, and just use it on the original. And what this does is it takes a lot of that line twist out that's inherent in that spoon wobbling all the time. And how I work this is I cast out and just fan cast. I know you do too. But let it crawl along the bottom. If you're ticking the bottom every once in a while, that's great. When you feel that little thump, kind of pause a little bit and let them get it, because a lot of times they'll get it in the back of their crushers.
Well, I've noticed a lot of times when you know, especially redfish, you know, they're chasing that bait and they're trying to eat it as they're swimming with it.
Oh, exactly.
So you'll feel those little tap, 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 taps as they're trying to eat it.
Nipping it.
Yeah, it's almost like something's nipping at it. Yeah, and then if you just kind of come tight on it, usually you come tight on the fish as well.
This mimics a crab, just kind of, you know, skittering along, or a minnow. But don't discount this lure on the flats for trout. I've caught a lot of nice trout on Aqua Dream spoons as well. So
usually when you catch a trout, it's a pretty good one.
Exactly. So this would be on the bottom, mid-column, descending, top water. If I only had 3 lures to go fish with, and most of the time that's all I throw on a couple different rods, those are what I'll take.
And the nice thing about this time of the year is you can be successful with all 3 of these throughout most of the day.
Exactly.
Because you know, you can, if you want to cover a lot of water, you can throw that spoon. If you're trying to work, you know, a specific spot that you know fish are holding in, you can probe it with that shrimp. And then if you're looking for that top water explosion, like a lot of us are, you can throw that salt water.
It's enticing.
It is.
The shrimp is also good for this time of year. If you're working around, like Evan was saying, around the oyster bars and stuff, you're going to pick up some flounder with this too. So, great baits.
It is a great bait. Well, Dave, we appreciate you coming in and talking a little bit about these baits that you have, or that you brought in. I think, Evan, you use all of these. I use these as well. It's hard to go wrong with that lure selection.
Now, Dave writes, is it weekly or is it once every a fishing report you do? How often do you write it?
I usually write a fishing report every week for my website, CaptainDaveLear.com, and then I share it with some other locals. It's posted on Shields Marina, which is my local marina, and then I used to teach flats pro seminars at Shields. We did that for a number of years. Okay. But I've retired from that and just fun fishing these days.
So you're fun fishing mostly, and then doing a little bit of writing here and there?
I'm doing more writing than
fishing, unfortunately.
Yeah, they won't let me go.
Yeah, so you fishing report hounds, check out his website.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we appreciate you watching this edition of the Apalachee Inshore Report. We want to thank Bass Pro Shops of Tallahassee and the Tracker Boating Center for sponsoring our program today. Captain Evan Snow of Apalachee Inshore Charters. If you want to find him, Facebook, he's got a website as well. I'm Captain Jay Carson of DWNP Charters. Find me on Facebook and Instagram. Dave, appreciate you being on, man. Thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it.
We look forward to talking to you next month. Thanks for watching.